this part, we'll do the masts. So there's a fore and main mast. Now, I did start cutting out the parts for each mast. I've kind of stopped because a lot of parts are common to both and some are unique to each one. So what I'll do is I'll cut the parts out as I need them. And then we've got the same main parts for the main mast. Because they're both very similar, I'll just go through the motions and building one. Although I might do interchange what one I'm working on to show. The first thing to help me though is for the main mast parts, they come in two large pieces. I'm going to use a piece of MDF and I've drilled a 5.5mm hole and that should fit the base of the mast. So what I'm hoping is this gives me like a platform to start assembling. So the first thing we'll do is we'll connect the two main halves. Now Jim, one of my viewers who's further on in the build than I am, mentioned that he tried soldering, but because of the massive brass, it was hard to get enough heat into both parts to do a secure soldering bond. So based on his feedback, I'm just going to use a two-part epoxy. So we'll do that now. So before I glue it with epoxy resin, I'm just going to put a bit of tape close to the edge there. And I'll just minimise cleanup for any overflow. Okay, so I've left a wee bit of gap there. That should be able to pull off the tape and take any excess with it. And again, it's just to minimise the amount of glue that I have to clean up and sand off. I don't know if it's necessary, but we'll know in a minute. Okay, so I'll just use Aerodite 5-minute epoxy. They're quite big tubes, so it's hard to dispense just small amounts. And we just go equal amounts. I don't want to put too much on the peg there because I don't want the air to get trapped inside. So I'm just going to push down, give it a twist. There is a bit of free play in it, so I'm just going to apply some pressure. It's 5-minute epoxy, so it should go off fairly, or start setting up fairly quickly. So I'll leave this to go off. Actually, let's see how always some overflow, but not a great deal, not as much as I thought. I'll leave this one until it's finished because I don't want to disturb joint now it's setting up. We'll have a look at the main mast now because we do have a bracket here for the boom that comes off. So I'm going to try and solder that. That's why I won't glue this now because I don't want to. Oh, that's a much tighter fit. That's really good. This one is a bit of play. This one's really tight, which is good. So let's have a look at doing the bracket here now. Okay, so here's the boom pivot bracket or support. So we've got the main part that folds around this pivot point, and that'll fit in there. And then we've got a brace, it fits to here. First thing we need to do is fold this up to encapsulate that. So we need to make sure the ball part of it is at the top, which is this part here. Also, I might just fold it partially so I can get room to solder this in, or hopefully solder it, but let's have a look at that. So obviously we need to bend these to 90 degrees, but I'm going to just hold off to see if I can solder it on first. And then we can final bend it. I'm not sure if that's going to work because there is bits of overhang, so I don't know if they're going to interfere with that. And then we've got the slot at the bottom for the brace, so that needs to go to the bottom of the mast. I think it should. Let me just bend them a wee bit more. There's a bit of play in there. And this slot there's a lot of free play. You can see there's almost probably more than a millimeter of space there. At least probably 2, which isn't very good. I thought it'd be a lot better than that, but I'll give it a go anyway. So you can stop it rolling about. Of course, I'm holding it over the edge because it's got a ridge there. Okay, let's give this a try. I don't know how successful it's going to be purely because of the amount of brass in this mast. It's going to suck all the heat out of the... So what I think I'll do is I'll apply the solder to this part. Remembering the slot needs to be down. It'll be quite liberal, I think. Okay, let's see how this goes. No, as expected, it's just can't get enough heat into it purely because of the size of the brass. Okay, it looks like it possibly has actually taken, which is how much it will survive. Okay, seems to be not too bad. What I'll do is I'll insert the pivot point. Remember to keep the ball to the... Actually, that is hot. I just burnt my finger. No, see, just didn't hold it all. I'm going to try something else though. I've got a feeling I'm going to regret this, but we'll give it a go anyway. Okay, so I think it's pretty much secure. Of course, I almost destroyed this swivel part. I'll give it a clean up and we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so it's cleaned up, not too bad. I'd advise you just to glue it, the glue of your choice. I almost destroyed this ball pivot. In fact, I lost part of the ball on the back side, just too much heat. And I just soldered on the bottom brace as well. And I soldered the top so it doesn't rotate. But I don't think it matters because the boom can still move within it. But yeah, just glue it. Okay, so I'll just epoxy on the top section off camera and then we'll move on. So that's the 2 halves of the main mast joined together as well. But I've just discovered an issue that I never noticed until when I was cleaning up. There's actually a hole there. So I had a look at the plans and that's for boom to come off, if you like. Now unfortunately it needs to be on the opposite side of that. And as you can see, it's not all the way around. So I'm going to have to mark it on the back side of the mast and re-drill. So again, that's just not looking ahead in the instructions and seeing what's coming up and what I need to make sure I capture. So I'm going to have to fill this and drill another hole. So trying different drill sizes into the hole, a 0.7mm fits in, but a 0.8 doesn't. So I'm going to just go with a 0.7. So I've wrapped some tape around the center of the hole, and then that's the front edge because it's in line with the bracket. And then I've marked the rear, so where the tape is, that's the center line at this position. Okay, so I've got a balsa block here and I've just carved a bit of a groove in it, just to allow the mast to sit in without rolling about. And the balsa's fairly soft, so I can press down and get a good grip on it, and it'll be hard to move. I should really make a center point to start the drill, but okay, let's have a look. So that's the existing hole. Oh no, that's my new hole. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that, but was pretty successful. Okay, to fill the hole, I might use baking soda and super glue. It's not going to be easy to get the baking powder into the hole. I'm going to leave it just a little bit proud. Okay, so I've loaded up the needle. I'll just touch it. Now it is sitting on the surface there. I'll just leave that to go off, and then it should be easy to scrape or sand down. So we'll just go through a wee bit of sand. Okay, so that's the new hole. And then that's the filled one. It's hard to tell because the brass is always so shiny. We'll see what it looks like once we get some primer onto it. That's that done, so we can now move forward. Okay, so now we can start putting the rings onto the mast. So for the Fore mast, we've got 2 initial ones. Just make sure you get your numbers right. And then this one's good because it goes all the way down and actually covers the joint, or goes down as far as the joint. So we've nothing to line this one up, so that's an easy one to do. So just have a look around, make sure it's level. We'll just use some super glue thin. Now the second one goes down as far as this bottom ridge. Okay, so that's sitting on the ridge. Now the Fore mast isn't very clear in the alignment, but on this lower one we've got 2 eyes. So we need to make sure the 3 eyes on the upper one is on this side. So I'm just going to have a look down. It looks pretty good there. Okay, so that's that one. On the main mast, we've got a number to do. So again, we've got 1 on the joint, and then we've got 3 in the upper area. These ones are easier to line up because in other drawings within the instructions actually shows you clearer. So we'll move on to the upper and lower yards, and these are for the Fore mast. And then we've got the parallels on another box here, I'm not sure what that's for. So we need to bend these up into shape. So we'll do the upper parallel first, and as you can see, it's got edge marks to bend these up. And then on the other side, we've got additional edge marks to bend them up. We'll do the big ones first. And again, I'm going to grip the delicate side. Possibly, okay, if we rolled it right to the end, should have enough space. So now we'll bend this one's back of the way. So again, we're quite limited for space here. I might actually do it this way just to get started. Okay. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to look. I'll just do the same for the bottom one. Okay, so that's the other one done. And then we'll do this box. Just looking at the fold lines. So I think this top part sits within the two sides. So I'm going to do the sides first. Okay, so need to open up, and that sits inside there. Okay, so that's sitting in there nicely. I'm going to solder that actually, just to stop it springing apart. Okay, so we'll feed the paddle onto the yard now. Now I'm not sure if you can see, but there is an etched line, or a cut line, and that's the center. So we just need to make sure we're equidistant each side. Okay. We'll do the same for the upper yard. And again, there's that same mark to show the center of the yard. Okay. Okay, so continuing with the yards, we've got a number of rings that we need to put on. So 293 is for the smaller one, for the upper yard. 291 and 292 is for the lower yard. So we just need to make sure we use the right ring for the right yard in the right position. And we want to make sure it's in the right orientation as well. So if that's the yard through the mast, that bottom ring needs to be on the down position. I'm just holding it against the peg to keep it in position so I can solder it without moving it. I'm just checking the orientation as well. Rotate it a wee bit. There we go. Okay, so I'll do the rest of them. Okay, so that's all the hoops soldered on now. So we'll concentrate on the main mast. So on the underside, we've got these foot ropes to put on, and you have to watch because they are handed. You've got a longer section here and a shorter section. The longer section goes up to the paddle. So we'll have a look at it next. We also have the yard falls. So these are the rigging that support the yard. So I'm going to shape this first, but put it on after. So hopefully there is edge marks to fold to. And I want to be very careful here, because we definitely don't want to put any bends or kinks into the thin part, because obviously it's supposed to represent rope. So you just want to be mindful of where your fingers and hands are so we don't bend it. Put this down to rope. How much you can see of this. Okay, so I think I can put quite an angle on it. But what I'll probably do is solder this in position, and then I can fine tune the angles and the bends. Okay, so I need to solder, I try and solder the footsteps on. And then because it butts up against the paddle, I'll hold the clamp on the inside, so when I heat it, it doesn't, or if it breaks a bond already made, it will stay in position. So Okay, so that's the main parts on. I'll leave this end free because I need to get the valves on up to that space there. So I'll finish doing the rest of them on both and then we can come back and look at the valves. Okay, so that's the foot ropes on. So now we need to do the valves. Now remember, I didn't solder the end one because we need to get the them hooked over the end there. Okay, and then the foot ropes are stopping the falls popping off each end. What I might do is just solder one side at a time. Just to stop it moving. Okay, so what I've also done is similar to the main mast. There we go. So it sits down in there. Actually, I think this goes down. Oh, that's better. Sits a lot further down. And that kind of pulls the falls into better shape. But what I can do is I'll solder the bottom, solder the top, and then I can adjust the angles here. Oops, don't want to damage these, so delicate. But I've still the ends to fit here. Right, I'll do the rest of them and then we can come back. Okay, so we'll finish off the upper yards now. So we've got the falls again, and we've got this tackle here. Very delicate, and again trying not to bend the thin wire. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll solder this. It won't take much to close that up. Just put the tiniest amount of solder on the inside there. I'll just close them up. So we've got 4 of these to make, but what we need to do next, we need to turn this round. Okay, so I just spun the eye round. Have a look. So trying to get the orientation correct. Okay, so they go onto the end like there. Okay, so that's hanging down there. Just apply the heat to the end here. Okay, so hopefully you can see we've got that original loop we put on, and it's hanging down. This is now hanging down as well. So we just need to solder this down onto the spar of the yard. Okay, so it's going to sit on there loose now. Okay, so we've got the other 3 to do, and we'll come back. Okay, so here's the foremast, and we've got the main mast as well. So we can put the upper yards in place now. Okay, so what I think I'll do is, we've still got the the falls to do. But as you can see, they're open on one end, so we can actually secure this now and then install these later. But I might bend them up now, so we can almost get that goes correct straight off, and then these will be almost okay. So I think it'll be good to solder the yard first, and then we can do these ones without trying to balance 3 different planes. Okay, so I'll do that off camera. It's just a case of applying some solder each side, and then we'll apply the heat and that'll be it. Okay, so I've progressed as far as I'm going to on the upper masts. There's still at the top here like a weather vane and light, and then on the main mast we've got another boom to come off. I'm going to have a break from these for the time being, and we'll move on to the tops next. Okay, so moving on to the tops, we've got the foremast and the main mast tops. Now, these are pretty straightforward. We'll just bend them together, and I'm going to perimeter solder them all, which you've seen me do 100 times before, so I'm not going to show that bit. I'll show the first solder, and then we'll do the same for the braces on the underside. Again, it's a straightforward fold. Just make sure they're lined up, and I'll perimeter solder these as well, just making sure we're perfectly aligned. So again, we'll just flux the sides. I'm going to use solder paste. So I'll just go all the way around doing that, and then same for the braces, and then we'll come back. Okay, so that's the fore and main mast tops soldered up with the braces. Just do the perimeters of them both. So if we have a look at the underside, you can see the grooves where the supports go. Now also you can see there's an edge mark where the mast goes. So that will sit into, the mast will sit into that groove. So Jim highlighted that there's a bit of play in the braces. So we need to make sure that we account for the mast. So what I've done, bored a hole in some MDF so the mast can sit all the way through, and then we can hold the braces up against it to make sure we get the right position. So they are specifically numbered and slightly different in size, so we need to make sure we get the right ones in the right place. I made some grooves in the block as well because we've got some eyelets here that need to go through. Okay, so it looks pretty good there actually. If we can remove the mast without disturbing anything, I'll get an idea of where it sits within that. Okay, so we can just hold the brace up to the edge of the recess there. Get this first one soldered in. So we'll put some flux into the groove. I'm only going to solder on a couple of spots. And we'll flux the underside as well. Let's move it forward a bit. That's the first one done. It's a real tight fit now, but should be okay. Okay, so I'll continue on with this, and then we can come back. So that's the top sole soldered up with the braces. This is the foremast, and there's a bit tighter pries at the bottom, or 1 or 2 just to get over that last ridge, but it's on now. And then we've got the main mast, slightly different shape, and it also has the additional blocks hanging down. This was a nice sliding fit. It went on really nicely. But I'm going to end the video here. I just totally underestimated the amount of parts that was involved in both masts. The last bits is all small details and a lot of rigging to do. But yeah, we'll finish it off in the next part.